Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to the second hour of News and Views right here on Salam Media with me, Julie Ali. And we're now going to be talking with Hafiz Imraan Choonara. He is the CEO of African Muslim Agencies. And I must also add, the brother to the twins, Hassan and Hussein, who we feature very regularly on our show when they are promoting the amazing work that they do all around the world, very especially in areas stricken by natural disasters and other such issues. Hafiz Imraan Choonara is the older brother. I am sure I'm correct there when I say you are the older brother. And you are here to talk to us about something a little different today. I'm pretty excited about it, and I do hope and pray that our young people tune in and take this opportunity to truly be inspired and motivated by you as a personal excellence mentor. So how did this all start for you, Imran?
Actually, Julie, first of all, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And of course, always great to be on Salam Media and with the viewers and listeners, of course. And well, I think, I'm grateful, first of all, to Allah that He put me in the path of, well, first of all, I mean, my dad, subhanAllah, growing up in a household where my father was always in contact with mentors of his globally and locally in South Africa as well. But the exposure he gave me as a young person, as a teenager, funny enough, to people that he knew who were very, very senior in his sphere around the world. I didn't know it at the time. Obviously, I was clueless as a youngster. But later on, you look back on your life and you realize, wow, there was some wisdom in that, whether he did it deliberately and he actually had any idea what he was doing, or whether it was just something he was doing and Allah plans, of course, it's all part of Allah's plan. So as a teenager, I kind of was just aware of people doing great things in this world and wondered, how is it possible? Like, how do you get to do things in this world? Like, I mean, it's weird. Like, I knew how you become a doctor, you go to university, how do you become a lawyer, a dentist, a teacher, I don't know, whatever the case is, because that's what we see in our community. But when I saw what some people like my dad and others were doing around the world, and I just thought, how do you get to be a person that does so many things? And I couldn't get it. And in my early 20s, again, the way Allah plans, I mean, I met someone from the US who at that time, she was 35 years my senior and a senior business person, and came into my life and started mentoring me in the world of leadership and business development. And for me, that was an eye-opener. I had no idea what it meant. I graduated at that time as a dental technician, interesting enough. So I was going to practice that. And then I decided to not do that after I graduated and decided to go into the world of business. But this woman started mentoring me in the world of speaking and personal development and success principles and leadership and business. And one of the biggest things that shifted for me was this idea of where she said to me, Imran, if you want to be a leader, you've got to fall in love with reading. And I couldn't get it. I was like, my goodness, I hated reading. And I was one of those guys, when you leave university, you think, man, I'm going to burn my books. Like, I'll never touch another book in my life again. And you think, like, what a dumb statement that is. And you mentioned young people, when we graduate, sometimes we think, oh, I'm done with books. Well, you're 22 or 23, and it's the dumbest thing to say ever. I mean, it's the most macho thing to say at that time. It sounds cool, like you'll never touch another book in your life again. But it's actually very dumb and naive, because to imagine at 23 or 24 or 22, you think, I've learned everything there is to learn in life, to live the rest of my life. And she said to me, Imran, if you want to lead and you want to succeed, you must learn to read. And that was the starting point.
So that brings me to the issue here in South Africa. We know that reading is a huge problem amongst the younger people. And I'm kind of also wondering, in our community, are our young people interested enough? And like you said, you do your stint at varsity, and the moment you graduate, that's the mindset, is it not? I'm done with reading. Let's focus on the importance of reading, whether it is via a mentor. You were fortunate enough to have had a mentor in your life. So let's talk about the importance of reading, and for young people to either align themselves with a personal coach or a mentor, how is that going to add to their growth and their future, a bright future for themselves?
A good question, because I think, first of all, nowadays, especially with social media and the world of technology, obviously, I think technology is amazing. But we've got to be careful. There's a balance in everything. Is that I find, of course, people have this mentality that, of course, they'll read only what's on social media, or they'll read on Instagram and Facebook and whatever the story is, and that's okay. You get some valuable information, obviously, but there's value in finding good quality books, value based. Let's term it this way: value based reading. Not just reading for the sake of reading, value based reading. You see, because here's the thing, though, and I know there's audio books nowadays and all this kind of stuff, but to be honest, Julie, is that if I were to give one piece of advice to any young person, is pick up a book and read it. Why? Because when you are reading, the value of reading is you are speaking to yourself in your own voice. I don't know if you ever thought about that. When you're reading, you are reading stuff in a book or wherever, or online or whatever, but you're reading it in your own voice, because your own voice is in your head. You're not reading it in somebody else's voice. The minute you listen to an audio book, it's like someone else telling you what to do. When you read a book yourself, you are telling yourself what to do. It's quite amazing. It's an amazing experience. Also, when you read a physical book, there's a difference between that, when you can highlight what you're reading in your book, because I encourage people to do that. I'm reading a book right now where I highlight everything that I think is valuable and important, because the act of me reading it, number one, in my own voice, number two, is my own voice is in my head, number two is that when I take a pen or a highlighter or something and highlight something I think is important, I'm reinforcing it in my brain, from my hand to my brain, that this I think is important in my own voice. Whereas if you're reading online, or you tend not to do stuff like, you tend not to highlight, you tend not to do things like that. You just read, which is okay. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying that there's, in my opinion, there's value-based reading. Read with the idea of what am I going to glean from it that I could add value to my life. And even if you find no value in the entire book, but you find one line or one page, don't have this mentality of, oh no, that book was a lousy book, or it is a waste of money. Nothing's ever a waste of money if you learned one thing from it. So even if a book cost you 200, 300, 400 rand and you learned one thing that could apply to your life, it was worth it. So understand that. And also, here's another thought, and I hope this might not be a popular thought. Please, I say this to young people especially, please don't photocopy books. Like invest in, someone spent their entire life to write a book, because it's their life experience, and you want it for free because you want to cheat on how you receive that information. That says a lot about you as a human being. And we'll talk about this as the weeks and months go by, because there's a value in saying, you know what, I honor the person who wrote this book. And even if I read the whole book and I find one line that will benefit my life, that's incredible, actually. So that's the first aspect of reading. Now we can talk a lot more about that. But the idea of mentorship. As a Muslim, mentorship is what our whole religion is based on. How did you think the Prophet ﷺ and all the prophets before, the Sahaba, etc., how do they learn? They learn through mentorship. They learned, where there's this concept of, I learn at the feet of someone. The whole mentality of you study at the feet of someone, or back in the day, a carpenter or a blacksmith, they learn at the feet of someone. A scholar used to learn at the feet of someone. That's the terminology, the phrase. It comes because you learn from someone. Someone mentors you, and they pass information to you. They pass knowledge, perspective, wisdom to you based on their wisdom and knowledge and experience. It doesn't mean they're always right. Remember, after the Prophet ﷺ, there's no other perfect human being, which means no one is perfect. No mentor is perfect. No coach knows everything. No. And actually, a true mentor in life, does not tell you what to do. A true mentor does not tell you how, it does not tell you what to think. They don't tell you what to do. They don't tell you what to think. What they do is they give you perspective and teach you how to think. Wow. So that you learn to think and apply your own thinking to your own life. If you are in a relationship with a coach or a mentor or someone who is telling you exactly what to do and what to think, that's a very dangerous relationship, because it means that without them, you can do nothing. Well, every time something happens in your life, you need them to tell you what to do, what to think. No, a true mentor teaches you how to think, so that you start thinking, you develop your own mindset, so that when you are faced with life, and even as parents, we are mentors to our children, whether we like it or not. And if we're telling our children what to do, that's dangerous.
Okay, we
teaching
don't
them
want
how to think. Yeah,
We don't want our children to use parents or mentors as crutches. We
exactly.
want them to start doing their own critical thinking, and that's really very, very important. I love your response. And my other concern, apart from the fact that our young people are just not engaged enough in reading and broadening their thinking and their minds, because that's what you do when you read. You start thinking very, very critically. The book will take you on a journey, unimaginable journeys, and you develop this movie, these pictures in your mind, and that's the beauty of books. And I just hope and pray we can get this message across to all of those people who believe reading is not for them. So we've touched on the importance of reading. We've touched on the importance of mentors. Let's talk about. Wouldn't it be great? We're such a big community, a Muslim community in South Africa, and we have so much of intelligence within our community. Wouldn't it be great? And I know I'm talking to the right person when I say this, Imran, if every person like yourself, and we have many such people in our community, could adopt a youngster and start mentoring him or her. Just imagine the outcome of that relationship and where we're taking that young person to, how we are broadening his or her mind and their future possibilities.
Absolutely, 100%. And I want to just take a step back there, Julie, is that first of all, we often use the term, and I know rightfully so to a large degree, is we want to encourage young people because we see them as the next generation. But I want to challenge everybody who is even my age. I'm 50, and I still know that I know nothing, so to speak, because the more you know, the less you know. Because
True.
that's amazing. That when when someone believes they know a lot or they know everything, it means they've stopped learning. And I never want to take advice or perspective or any thoughts from anyone who is not growing. I don't care how old they are, because if they stop growing, they've stopped learning and they've stopped developing wisdom. And now they become idealistic about what they know, which means that they become actually very judgmental people. So older you get, the more you should be learning, because the older we get, the greater the risk is that we think we don't need to learn, because we think we've lived a long time. We think I know
True.
so many things, because we do know so many things. Yes, because you've lived a long time. But that's the danger. The arrogance sets in when you think the older you are, the less you need to still read and learn and challenge yourself and get out of your comfort zone. So I'm going to challenge every single older person, so to speak. If you've stopped reading, you're in dangerous waters, because you're bordering on the brink of arrogance, that you think you've learned everything you need to know. And as a Muslim, that should scare you, because we're supposed to read we're supposed to acknowledge from the cradle to the grave. Our first word of revelation was read. So, like, I mean, think about it. Allah could have chosen any word for revelation. He could have chosen worship, which would be amazing. He could have chosen anything, but he chose read. It's incredible. It's like, blows my mind. So that's the first thing. Second thing, yes, of course, if everybody could just choose a mentor or choose to mentor others. You know what I find, Julie, though, is that truly successful and significant people in this world are very willing to share their information. When someone is very cagey about the information they know, or they're very secretive or whatever, that's not true success. That means they actually, because truly successful and significant people in this world, they know that they did not become who they are by themselves. They know that someone else helped them. They know that others gave them advice. They know that others gave them perspective. They know that without other people's help that went before them, they would not have been able to achieve. Which means when people come after them and ask their advice, they're very willing to give advice. I find the biggest challenge is not that older people, so to speak, or more successful people are unwilling to give advice. I find that people who are less successful, you want to call it that, who want the advice, are scared to ask for it, because they're scared. Oh, that person's so successful, they're so respected. I'm a nobody, and this whole kind of weird kind of vibe. So they don't even ask. When people ask me for it, but I'm very willing. It's weird how many students actually ask advice from me, and I give it willingly, because I know that, hey, I could have gone any way down this path in life, and yet because of other people giving me perspective and coming around me and me asking for advice, this idea of being humble and teachable. Now, that's something I learned as well from the mentor of mine in my 20s. I'm so grateful that Allah put her in my path, because she taught me the idea of humility and teachability, being willing to humble yourself. Doesn't matter how strong you are, does not make you weaker, to humble yourself and become teachable. Have a teachable spirit, have a teachable heart, be willing to learn, even when you think you know everything. You see, here's the line I want to leave us with. The day, when you think you know it, when you think you are 100% correct, you are probably wrong. When you're convinced you're 100% right, because see, if I'm convinced I'm 100% right in my opinion about something, and you have an opposing opinion, then by definition in my mind, you are wrong. Because if I'm convinced I'm 100% correct, that means for sure if you think differently than me, then you are wrong, because I'm convinced I'm right. But you see, if I'm aware that, okay, Imran, when you are 100% convinced you are right, there's a possibility you might be wrong. Why? Because now I'm closed to anybody else's view, because I'm convinced I'm right. If I'm just willing to be humble and teachable for a second and say, let me hear your view, let me hear your view, let me hear your perspective, I may still come back to my own perspective and feel like, no, I've heard you out, but I still feel I'm right. Okay, that's okay. But what if I opened myself and became teachable? Maybe I learned something that I didn't know.
The nafs is a very dangerous thing, is it not? The ego that stands in our way of growth, phenomenal growth. If we could just, as you've indicated, open up our minds, our hearts, reach out, try and help other people, and also not be as insecure in yourself, closed off in yourself, to be embarrassed to ask someone for guidance and mentorship and everything else that goes with it. And that's the very reason why I'm talking with you this morning. Very exciting indeed. You are starting a Fired Up series with us here on Salam Media 3 times a week, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. My only little criticism about the Fired Up series is that I believe it's too short.
Absolutely. Look, I think you're right. There's so much we can talk about and unpack, etc., etc. But I think the biggest challenge is that most of us, we live in a world which is, everything is just in snippets and it just goes quickly. So on social media, I mean, I read somewhere recently.
The instant age.
Exactly. I read something recently that the average attention span for a 21 or 22 old is 7 seconds, which means that in 7 seconds, if you don't grab the attention span, I read that a few years ago, which means it's less now, might be 2 or 3 seconds right now. And because of the scrolling mentality, we're scrolling on Insta or Facebook, or whatever the case is, you're scrolling. If something doesn't grab your attention within the first second or two, you've gone past it and you've gone to the next thing. So we don't make time, unfortunately, to actually learn stuff. We don't make time. And I can talk a lot about how just anxiety and depression and stuff comes into this world, I really believe, because of the stuff we expose. But no, that's a discussion for another time. My point of the matter is, yes, it could have been longer, but I really think that if everybody just took the time to say, okay, 3 times a week, I'm going to get just a 2-minute or a 3-minute or 2.5-minute thing, and I'm going to take one perspective and learn. I'm going to take one idea and apply it to my life. Because you see, Julie, the challenge we also have mostly is that sometimes it's information overload. We get I see people repost quotes all the time. And then you think, okay, you're reposting a quote every single day, you're reposting a different quote and 5 quotes and 10 quotes a day. Are you applying at least one of these to your life? Sometimes if you just took one quote and you applied it to your life and you lived it in your life for 10 years, you'd probably be better off than someone who's reposting 15 quotes a day. Because the person reposting 15 quotes a day read it, reposted it, but they don't apply it.
Absolutely. They just want to look smart, I think.
100%.
When they post it on, so for the receiver, they're going to think, oh, wow, Imran and Julie are so smart. Yeah. Look what they forwarded on. But that being said, I want to hone in on this, where the best gift you and I can give to our children is our own personal growth. Unpack that for me.
Well, I think in a nutshell, and I think I did a snippet on that, is that the best gift we can do to our kids, give to our kids our own personal growth, is because if we don't grow personally, you see, whether we like it or not, we are passing on a legacy to our kids. I'm not only talking about financial legacy. If you're a highly educated person, then probably you pass on the value of education to your children because you believe in education. That's why you'll teach your kids about the value of education. If you're a business-minded person and you're very successful in business, you'll probably pass that as a legacy onto your kids because you believe in that success, etc. So whether we like it or not, we are passing on a legacy to our children. Now we could ask ourselves, what type of a legacy are we passing on to them? Are we passing on to a legacy of arrogance, a legacy of materialism, which I'm not saying materialistic things are bad. I'm just saying there's a perspective on that. What are we passing on? When my father passed away, before he passed away, he told me, he said, I'm going to leave no money for you, but I'll leave all my books for you. And I thought,
Wow.
because he was a reader, he read a lot. And interesting, I thought, nah, he's just kidding. When he passed away, he was a man of his word, man. He left no money for us, but he left a lot of books, which I think the best thing he could have done, because he left us the legacy of reading and learning and doing something with our lives. He told me, actually, he used to tell me, his eldest son, he used to tell me, he said, Imran, when I pass away, if I see you at my grave crying every single day because you miss me, I'm going to come out and slap you. I said, I don't want you at my grave. He said, you can make dua for me from anywhere you are in the world. He said, but what I want you to do is do something with your life. He said, if you really want to honor me, you really, think I told you anything, do something with your life. And that for me is important. The legacy he left was do something with your life. So my point is that the legacy we are leaving, are you leaving a legacy of excuses? Are you leaving a legacy of blaming mentality to your children? Or are you leaving a legacy of growth? And they see you grow. You see, your children will do what you do, not what you say. What you do speaks so loud, and what you say I can't hear. So your kids will do what we know that as parents, we know it, we joke about it, we laugh about it, but it's true. And it doesn't mean that you must be perfect as a parent. No, they must see you make mistakes. When your kids see you make mistakes and they see you grow from your mistakes, that gives them the permission that in their life, when they make a mistake, they can grow. If you claim that you never make mistakes and you prove that you're the perfect parent for your kids, that's very dangerous, because that means they have to be perfect, and they're not going to be perfect. When they make a mistake, they're not going to know how to handle the mistake, because they never saw their parent handle anything. So the legacy of growth you leave for your kids, you don't leave a legacy of perfection, you leave a legacy of growth. That's the best gift you can give your kids, because if you don't grow, you will leave a legacy of insecurity. You will leave a legacy of you carrying baggage with you. You're blaming others. They watch you around the dinner table complaining about the neighbors and complaining about the world and complaining about other people and talking, gossiping, whatever. And that's the legacy you're leaving. Whew, that's a dangerous legacy to leave.
Let me end on this note. It's slightly negative, but let me get your perspective on it. Lots of youngsters, I am generalizing here today, but the age and stage and the type of influence all around the world that we're living in, our young people are exposed to a lot of un-Islamic values. They're also hooked into this issue around blame, ingratitude, get mixed up in the wrong crowd, uncouth, etc., etc., etc. Can we still, at some stage of our lives and their lives, turn it around? How do we do that?
See, I'm the eternal optimist. I believe we can. I really do believe. I believe there's a fundamental goodness in a human being. I believe that, whether we as Muslims say Allah, whether you are non-Muslim, just of a different faith, and you refer to our Creator as God, whether you don't believe there's a Creator, I don't believe that there's any human being who's worthless. Now, based on what's going on around the world right now, that might challenge that thought. But the point I'm making is that I believe there's a fundamental goodness in every human being. I believe that our Creator does not create junk. Our Creator, now we do bad things. People do bad things, as we see around the world right now. People do despicable things. People hurt people. People destroy people. People do insanely bad things. But I believe that the soul was created as fundamentally good. What I mean by that is that I believe that because when we do good things in life, we feel better. When we make mistakes or we do bad things, we feel bad because our soul knows it. Our soul belongs to its creator. We belong to our creator, whether you believe it or not, which means that our soul knows when we do good and when we do bad. When we do bad, we feel bad. When we do good, we feel better. So I believe when you talk about young people and what they're exposed to, yes, I feel incredibly sad for young people today because of what they're exposed to. But every generation has its test. Our parents thought, or my parents thought, that TV was going to be the devil. And that was going to be the thing that was going to corrupt us young people. And then when cell phones came out, it was like, oh, cell phones are going to corrupt you, etc. Okay, but prior to that, when radio started, radio was going to corrupt you. Prior to that, something else was going to corrupt you. So every generation has its test. This life is not Jannah. This life is not meant to be perfect. This life is a test. which means that now we have to equip ourselves. And you see, us as older people, so to speak, when we look at younger people, we say, oh, you guys are not like this, you're not like this, you're not like this. We say, wait a second, I'm living in the same world they're living. What am I doing to help them? What am I doing to make to support them? What am I doing to mentor them? Am I growing? Am I embracing what's happening around us so that I can learn how to guide the next generation? Or am I going to sit back as a 50-year-old and blame them for what they're doing because of the test that they're facing? I feel for young people because they're bombarded every single day with every possible influence around the world. It takes an incredible strength on their part to navigate that, use the technology around positively, and to find their way. So I really believe that if we teach young people, or even older people, by the way, values-based leadership, values-based relationships, values-based business, values, but when it's values that underpin, because values never change. Values, doesn't matter what technology comes, doesn't matter what the world does, doesn't matter what, values are values. They do not change. The value of morality, ethics, integrity, honesty, character, these things don't change. These things are solid. They're the foundation that you can stand on. I feel for young people nowadays because the foundation is not solid any longer. It's shifting all the time. They don't know where to stand because the ground is shifting. And if we can share with them a solid foundation and show them what a solid foundation means, and empathize with what they're going through, I believe there's, I'm an eternal optimist when it comes to young people. I think one thing I'm watching right now around the world is how young people are responding to the atrocities around the world. And they are idealistic in their views. And I applaud them for that idealism in their views, because they want a world of peace. They want a world of connectivity. They want a world of respect. Now, yes, again, now you look at the woke mentality. That's a whole different discussion, because that's not respect. I believe, when you have this, there's a perspective on men and women are equal. We can have a whole conversation about that. No, they're not. No, we're not. No, I can't do what you can do. You can't do what I can do. This mentality about I can do everything a man can do, only better. Nonsense. And the man says, I can do, no, you can't. I can't do what a woman can do. I can never do that. I mean, I can never be as amazing as what women have been created to be and what they can do. I can never do that. But there's certain things I can do that she can't do. Okay, so that's okay. It's not a bad thing. Why do we live with this mentality that somehow we have to prove that? So I believe that the generation we're living in right now is tough. They got it tough because they're bombarded with all of this. They're trying to be equal. Everybody's trying to be like, somehow we're supposed to live in some panacea, some sort of a Jannah here on earth, that everybody's just amazing. No, the world is a bad place. Sometimes the world is also a good place. Life is short, but life is also long. You see, it's just how you view it.
It's up to you
how you view it in your mind. It's what you make of it.
Imraan, I could sit here for hours on end engaging with you. You're fascinating. I like the way you think. And we need so very many more Imraan Choonaras in our community to truly, truly uplift our young people. And we look forward to the Fired Up series. It's going to be playing out every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Friday mornings. I think it's going to be playing out at about 10 to 10. Every morning, am I correct? Well, not every morning, 3 days of a week. And we truly look forward to it. Thank you so very much for sharing with us this morning. May Allah accept all of your efforts. We know that Ameen. You and your brothers and very many other members of your family are involved in this amazing organization called African Muslim Agencies. May Allah accept your efforts. May He guide and protect you all. And thank you for trying to make this world a better place. Shukran very much.
Shukran, Julie. Really, really appreciate it. May Allah bless you and the listeners, of course, and the viewers, of course. May Allah grant you immense barakah for wanting to serve humanity through the platforms that you guys have. Have an amazing time. Shukran. Salam wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam. It is exactly 9:41. News and views moving along, and we're now going to be talking with Rashid Gutta, Sun Party parliamentary candidate, and we are going to talk about their manifesto. So please stay with us.